Two. Greetings, family. Sister Shanice in the house. And as you can see, I am alongside a wonderful panel lineup for today. So I want to thank you all as you're coming in to join us. Welcome, welcome. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Sister Shanice Show. We have another really interesting discussion lined up for you today. Spread the word, tell your family, tell your friends. The Sister Shanice Show has just started, and looking forward to your interaction in the chat, looking forward to you sharing after the presentation today as well. So come on in, family, come on in. We've got a good lineup for you today. So as you can see, we've got some new guests in the house as well today. We have our resident panel member, Dr. Abu. Rise up, Dr. Abu. How are you doing?
Vudum family, the pleasure to be amongst three beautiful empresses, you know?
Hey. Thank you. And it's a privilege and an honor, as always, to have you in our midst and in our company, Dr. Abu. Rise up yourself, as always. And as you can see, we've got Sheila in the house. Rise up, Sister Sheila. How are you doing?
I am very fine. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm indeed honored, and it will be a wonderful show. Thank you.
It's a privilege and honor, my sister Sheila. And as you can see, we've got Amelie Ashanti Amar in the house.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a while. I've not been on the Wednesday, but it's good to be on the platform and to engage in the conversation. Thanks, Sister Shanice. And welcome everyone. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. So family, as you join us, please just let us know where you're watching us from. What part of the world are you watching us from? You know, drop us a message in the chat. Let us know that you're in the house. We're looking for an exciting discussion this evening. As always, you know, always so much for us to be talking about. And tonight's topic, we're going to be looking at African governments and Chinese anti-environmentalists grabbing land from women gardeners. Is this progressive or regressive? Is it progressive for African governments to have foreign countries coming in and grabbing land and doing agricultural projects, mining projects, etc., etc.? We're looking at the environmental impact that this has as well on the African continent. So we're going to be having a discussion about that today. And we're also going to be looking at the impact as well of the decisions that some governments take and how it impacts on the local people. So we're going to be having that discussion today. And then after this show, you know, hopefully you will stay with me on the Sister Shanice Show, log out and log back in again on the other link, because we've got our brother Franklin Jones joining us for part 2 of the discussion that we started last strong. So yeah, it's part 2 of the Great African Centered Lecture, and the conversation that we're going to be having is entitled Black Skin, White Mind, the science behind it, because as we know, there is a science behind our indoctrination. And yeah, here on the Sister Shanice Show, as I do on the Galaxy Afiri Show, it's all about de-brainwashing. So let me just the table again, so to speak. We've got, but before I do, let's see who we've got in the house, shall we? So we want to rise up Audrey McLean saying, Grand Rising, wonderful family and guests. Grand Rising back, Sister Audrey. We've got Ras Broomfield in the house saying, blessed evening, family. Blessed evening. We've got Francis who's joining us from Ghana. Hey, now that's your neck of the woods. Rise up, Pitana, greeting us from the UKKK. Ras is joining us from Birmingham Strong. And we've got Afri Jamo, who's greeting the panel and is joining us from Ghana. Oh, wonderful, wonderful to have you in the house. Beverly is saying, hello, Sister Shanice. And she doesn't say where she's joining us from. Maybe in the next message she will. Danny's greeting the family. There's what JJ saying, one love family. So as you come in, and please do give us a thumbs up. Much appreciate love the likes. Okay, I warn the family, you know, sometimes I do have internet connection problems, but certainly hope that it doesn't interfere too much with the viewing today. So let's start with just a quick question I'm going to ask each of the panel to tell me, you know, there's so much that's impacting on us as a community on a daily basis. Sheila, tell us, for you, what has been maybe something in the news that's jumped out for you over the last strong? Some say we say strong. What's jumped out for you this strong?
Well, there was the death of Prince Philip. And as it is, whenever anything that touches on the royals happens, my country sometimes disappoints me greatly. We seem to have this very interesting relationship between my country and the colonizers, the oppressors. So, and it normally comes that during this time when something like this happens, our people go back in fully oppressive mode and kind of show that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So that has been very much present in my week. It has also been the week of the new moon. I'm an astrologer in the making. So when it's new moon like this, there's a lot of intentions to be set. There's a lot of energies in the air. So it has been an intense week. But we give thanks. Thank you.
We give thanks. Do you want to let us know what your country of origin is?
I am from Kenya, but right now I'm tuning in from the UK. My country is Kenya, and I'm in Kenya. I always know what's happening in Kenya. So I've been following what's happening in Kenya on the news of this death.
Okay, all righty. Thank you for that. Dr. Abu, what has been the most prominent sort of news issue for you this strong? And sorry, in the chat, you can mention what has been the big issue, the big news issue for you this strong as well. But Dr. Abu, what has it been for you?
Well, as the Empress said, it's to see how our people still suffering from the colonial virus. You understand? That then can really make certain things become a primary source. My main function this week is the child bride situation. We have to stamp out that. Those young girls in Africa, you know, life have been ruined by these invaders. These ideas come from the invaders. I tell people that child brides start with the money lenders. You understand? You know, they come on and demand that they want a little boy or a little girl and everything. And that's colonialism, whether from Arab or from European, it's colonialism. You understand? You know, see it, you know, and it's full time. We stand up and defend our women. You understand? Because if we don't defend our women, you know, see, our society is finished. Simple as that. You know, I am not following the Bible narrative that a woman comes from me. I know that. I've been going to the labor ward for the past how many years, and I never see no child coming from no man. You understand? So we have to know that we have to preserve and secure and protect our women, because they are the bastion of our liberation. Budum.
Vodum, rise up, Dr. Abu. Appreciate loving the women there. Much appreciate love you too, my brother, for all of your support. Sister Na, what has been the big news item for you over the last few days?
Well, we've had the story here of I don't know what you call children killing children, but basically teenagers killing an 11-year-old boy in Kaswa in the central region of Ghana for money rituals. And I know of the money rituals that unfortunately our people carry out, you know, sacrificing people in some belief that, you know, whoever the spiritual advisor they go to see makes them believe that it's going to result in receiving money. But it's the first time that I'd heard of, if you like, children doing this to children. Okay, teenagers, an 11-year-old boy, and I just thought, where are we going? You know, all for the sake of paper. So that's been on my my heart. And otherwise, fortunately, just something not necessarily in the news, but just came out of a conversation that I had today about a practice I have to say that I was not really familiar with in terms of women and what they call breast pressing or breast ironing, where unfortunately mothers or women, they use pestles or hot stones or something to basically massage the breasts so that they don't develop, partly out of a fear that, you know, once they start developing, they're going to become attractive or more attractive to men. So in a perverted way, trying to save them from sexual harassment, being married off young, and all of this thing. So it just doesn't stop, you know. So that's what's at the moment, especially today, that's been at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, thanks for that. And well, I've not heard of that either, about breast ironing. Learn something new every day. And yeah, and the issue regarding some of these rituals, these sacrifice killings in Africa, you know, it's something that's talked about behind closed doors, isn't it? But it's a very, very troubling and concerning kind of legacy that does need to be stamped out. And yeah, it's not, yes, certainly need to make changes in that area. Indeed, there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done to begin to, you know, convince our brothers and sisters that we shouldn't be going back into those sort of dark ages. And I suppose to me, one of the big stories that jumped out for me, I mentioned it on my radio show earlier today, was the evacuation of the people in St. Vincent as a result of that volcano. Firstly, I was very, very concerned about the volcano erupting. It had been, you know, lying dormant and fine for decades. And then suddenly it erupts the way that it erupted. And the extent of the eruption as well was huge. You know, it could be felt across some of the other Caribbean islands, you know, what do you call it? The ash from the volcano, you know, was landing in Barbados and covering the vehicles and the roads and everything over there. But I think for me, the most wickedest thing on top of all of that, as if that wasn't enough trauma for the people, yeah, the Prime Minister zoned the area, and the red zone area, which I suppose was the area most of threat, were being evacuated onto a cruise ship. But before they could go on the cruise ship, they needed to be vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. I mean, how wicked is that? How wicked is that? You know, they don't know it's an experimental vaccine. They don't know, you know, they don't know what the impact if it is going to be in the medium and long term. They don't know that the people behind it have got this, you know, insatiable, mad kind of attitude about the African population growth. You know, I tell you, so that was a very troubling story for me. There is a petition out against the Prime Minister for that decision. So people do go on to the internet and try and find that petition. In fact, at some point in the show today, I'll find it and highlight it. Okay, let's see what we've got going on in the house, because we're going to be launching into our topic for conversation. We've got 70 of you joining us right now. Fantastic. Please continue to spread the word. Let people know we're on an hour earlier in some parts of the world. So Please do let everyone know. So for those who are used to joining us from West Africa, yeah, we start at 7, but you know, it's still 8 p.m. GMT time over there. Okay, so we've got Zambia in the house. Hey, welcome, Zambia. We've got Sister Pauline in the house saying, love your show, Sister Shanice. Rise up to you, leaders. Hey, rising up all the leaders in the house. Thank you so much, Sister Pauline. We've got Royal Rising in the house. Let's see who else we've got. We've got Kimani saying, greetings, family. Sister Verna's in the house. Rise up, sis. How you doing? Hey, we've got Emily Spencer in the house. Greetings back at you. Beverly's saying, I despise a person who exploits children. Allow the kids to be kids. Allow the children to be children. No baby goats around here. Rise up, Beverly, though. Certainly endorse your sentiments there. Beverly's joining us from the US, from Iowa. Welcome. Welcome, US family. Okay, let's get into the topic for conversation today. We've got a nice group of family members watching, and we don't want to keep you any longer. So let's get into topic. Our topic for conversation today is concerning African government's decision and the kind of anti-Chinese environmental backlash that's happening on the continent because all too often, quite recently, the Chinese have been allocated land that's already been used by women gardeners and women agriculturalists. And so, you know, this is something that we want to look at and we want to talk about. And I suppose, you know, we all know that, that there's been a growing presence of the Chinese people in Africa over the last couple of decades, say. There's been a creeping growth in the number of Chinese, especially in countries like Tanzania and various other countries. And this is something historic in the Caribbean as well. Sorry for the birds in the background. I'm competing with nature here, if you can hear them. And yeah, so there's a growing number of Chinese people in the continent. There's a Chinese Africa summits that happen. They promise to come in with these huge financial investments. They promise, you know, long-term infrastructural development, job creation, wanting to contribute towards helping to sustain Africa's economy. And all of it sounds absolutely wonderful, much better deals than the Europeans have been offering the continent for the last 50, 60 years. And they're not really, or they haven't, you know, overtly shown signs to want to come in and destabilize Africa. They don't tend to get involved in the politics, certainly not overtly so anyway. You know, so they're coming in as, you know, partners who genuinely want to help and assist Africa with its growth and industrial development and environmental development and et cetera, okay? You know, however, you know, it is causing, their presence has been causing a lot of tension on the continent because, you know, there doesn't seem to be any consideration given to the fact that, you know, our African brothers and sisters may have been using a particular piece of land for decades, doing farming, you know, trying to make a living, trying to make ends meet. And suddenly you'll get a group of Chinese people who turn up with a tape measure or something, measuring the land that they have been told has been allocated to them by the government or the Alcala or the Seifu. And of course, that's going to cause huge amounts of tensions, also in terms of environmental destruction. In the Gambia here, for example, major challenges. Let me mute myself because I'm competing with the birds and go over first of all to Sister Sheila for your introduction and opening remarks regarding this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a topic close to my heart. I am Sheila Chebet. I am a life coach. I run my own life coaching school, and in this school we focus on the African people, and we deal with the deep brainwashing and the indoctrination that has happened to our people all in a bid to heal our people. And the more I do life coaching, the more I interact with our people, I get to see how much we are a traumatized people and how much healing we need to do. And certainly, as I was researching on this Chinese issue, which is an issue that I must say I didn't know how bad it was until I started talking to the people. And when I started talking to the people, I realized it is really, really bad. Sister Shanice, you've said that they come and they don't want to destabilize the country, or rather they don't want to do it overtly. I would say they have reached that point whereby they are so comfortable that now they are destabilizing openly. But now my issue with this, do we blame the Chinese or do we blame our governments? Because they did not force their way into our countries. They were welcomed with open arms. They have been welcomed. They have been laid the red carpet. As I was researching on this, I came across the information that in Kenya, Kenyan universities now, they are teaching free of charge Chinese, Mandarin. If you want to learn Mandarin, they are teaching it free in universities in Kenya. We've got the main universities called the University of Nairobi. Any student that is at the University of Nairobi, you can learn Mandarin for free. We have several languages in Kenya. None of them is taught at the university for free or for payment. But Chinese is taught for free. That in itself talks to me of colonization. That is not it alone. They have also gone to the villages. They are now in the villages as well. Now, when you go to the villages in any African country, it's like you've gone to the bedroom of a house. You've gone to the intimate place of a house. You are now sitting in the bedroom. You're not a visitor anymore. And now they go to these villages and they start to dictate. They are now like one of the feedback, because I run a school. I'm in contact with a lot of people from everywhere. It's an online school. So people are telling me this is information of things that are happening right on the ground. So in our villages, we've got the rivers with spring water in them. Spring water, and we've got the sun. In Africa, we've got the sun. They are now tapping onto this energy. They are providing solar power to the people, but at a cost. This is in the village whereby you do not need this solar energy anyway, because we live according to the circadian rhythm of the sun. So we wake up in the morning when the cock crows, we sleep in the evening. We don't need the light. We actually do not need it. So when you're in the village, our hormones, our melatonin and serotonin work very well because they work with the sun. Now they come, they say they're giving us solar, tapping into our waters, that they've got some little blue things that face somewhere, that this is tapping. First of all, people come with their own spiritualism. I'm not talking about spirituality. There is only one spirituality. I'm talking about spiritualism. That is spirits. So when these people come and they put these things on our waterways, and our waterways are holy. We are people of water. We are people of the sun. So when you come in the water, where we get water for it, we cook with this water, we bathe with this water, we drink this water, we use this water for our own rituals and practices. When you come and you're putting these things, these foreign things, what are you doing? But these are the questions we're not asking. As if that's not enough, they are also building their religious centers. I don't know whether they believe in Confucianism or Buddhism or whatever it is, where those things there. They are building, and then they're building it and they're telling people, for you to attend to the services we're building, and the services they could be building could be maybe schools. Again, that is a big question there, or hospitals. They say you need to convert to this. This is happening with them having been given the authority to come to these places. They did not just impose themselves there. So as I finish my remarks on this, I think or no, there's two reasons that bring the Chinese to Africa. And one reason, they are coming for our resources. China is only, this is from Google. Google tells me that China is only 9.5 kilometers square, million kilometers something, but 9.5. And Africa is 30.37. So Africa is 30 square kilometers, 30 million square kilometers. China is 9.5. So China has got a smaller landmass, but with many people. The population of China is 1.4 billion, as Google says. And the population of Africa, the entire Africa, is 1.3. So China has got a smaller landmass, but has got many people. We've got a bigger landmass and fewer people. So first of all, the population that is being mentioned right, left, and center, this is not an African problem. We are not overpopulated. So anyway, we have got the landmass. So I think China, or I know China is coming because it needs a place for their people. It needs to give their people a home because there are far too many. And they've realized that, you know what, Africa has got the landmass and it's got fewer people. That's the first thing they're coming. They're coming because they want a place. They want a home. They're spilling over. They are also coming because of the resources that Africa has. Africa has got all the resources of the world. China is the factory of the world. So China has the factory, but it doesn't have the resources. Africa has the resources, but doesn't have the factories. So if Africans came here as opposed, if they came as, you know, power, with bargaining power and say, you want something, you have what we want, but we also have what you want. You need us more than we need you. We'll be going there on the table as with power. But now Africa, with these leaders that we've got, we're going there as victims. And because we're going there as victims, we are losing our power and giving our resources for free, or rather, as it's happening, they're taking it because they have given our government so much money. And I say when they give the government money, it's twofold. They give the government money through debt and say, we are going to build your infrastructure, but then you're going to pay us back. And they also, I believe, pockets have been lined. That these terms they come with the dates, there is no sane African that would agree to them unless they're getting something from it. So my issue on this whole issue, at this point in time, the way we are speaking, I believe the Chinese are not a good addition in our continent. And I also believe that the leaders that allowed them to enter Africa, they are the people that we need to be having a talk to, because these are our own people that are mortgaging our country and our people today. Thank you very much. Let me stop here because I could go on. Thank you.
What a powerful opening. Thank you so much, Sister Sheila, for giving us some information from the grassroots, from the ground, what's happening over there. Very troubling indeed. And we will, you know, be delving into that a lot more as the show progresses. Thank you, Sister Sheila. Let's go over, I'm sure Dr. Abby won't mind if we do the ladies first, the women first. Let's go over to Sister Na. I know you need to disappear and come back at some point. So family, if you see our Sister Na leave us, it's all pre-planned and she will be back. Please introduce yourself, Sister Na, and let's have some opening remarks from you too. Thank you.
Thank you very much again for having me here. I'm Sister Na Amele Asante Ma. I am a UK-born, a London-born Ghanaian. Have been living in Ghana for the last 7 months with my 2 boys. I'm a lawyer by profession, also an intuitive life coach working with women in the African diaspora, and founder or co-founder of Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa, which speaks and aligns with some of the comments we've had this evening, really helping the women and the girls empower themselves to ultimately empower Mother Africa. And so, yeah, this issue hits from a number of different aspects for me. You know, the fact that we are looking at women being displaced from the land, from, you know, women farmers, women gardeners. And the first question I ask myself is, okay, so we've heard about the women, where are the men? You know, I unapologetically ask that question. I say so because usually when we're looking at women and men, we unfortunately have taken on this indoctrination of this battle between the sexes, which was never the battle of the African. We, you know, we respected, we appreciated, we valued the role of our men and our women, and we've been taken so far away from that right now. So when I say, I looked at this story and this issue, and I thought, but where are the men? You know, the women have been displaced. First of all, I would say that I can resonate with what's happening there, because in Ghana it's very similar, with the women, our mothers and mother figures. When things happen, it seems to me, and been my experience that I've actually seen, that the women will be the ones who are speaking up or speaking out or doing things or picking up bodies off the street, or the mothers literally are the ones that are organizing, not to the sheer exclusion of the men, but the example I talk of is because it's not unique. Unfortunately, what happens is, in a situation like this where we would perhaps expect our men to stand with us to be addressing these issues, what I can say that happens from the Ghanaian perspective is that rather than the men standing alongside us to say, okay, what is going on, to demand, some recompense or resolution, the men are rather telling us to be quiet so we don't disrupt or risk the alienation of the people that they see in some shape or form, bringing them in money. So not only do we not have the help, we actually have help, if you like, for the Chinese to silence us from speaking up, which is a damn shame, quite frankly, But I mention that because it's, like I said, it's not unique to Ghana, number one. Number two is that when I looked at this story, what I found interesting, because it happens everywhere, and I think, why are we asking that? As Sister Sheila touched upon it, it was the fact that, so these women, they've been on the land, they've been displaced, they've been there, this land's been there for 20 years. And, apparently no public comment has been made by the government, but they're reaching out to the government, what's going on? And the question I ask is, well, how do you think the Chinese got the land in the first place? Why do you think that the government that gave them the land is somehow now going to assist you resolve that issue? The two things, to me, they don't meet. So when we talk about, our leadership, I know it's unfortunately it's not, or it's common now that we say the leaders. Sure, our leaders, we can call them into the question. But to me, I always come back to self. Who put them in power in the first place? Where is our self-responsibility or our collective responsibility as citizens? So those women should not be left by themselves to be trying to fight this issue. It's not a turns, which for me it's turning slowly, but until it turns where we say enough is enough, and we are going to work together and stop taking these handouts, these loans. We're going to call out this bad leadership that we keep complaining about and actually do something to replace them, remove them, actively hold them accountable. It is going to keep happening because, as Sister Sheila says, they need not only, yes, they need our resources. And for me, when I talk of resources, I'm talking about they just don't, it's not that they only need, our gold, our jewels, our metals. They need the land. Like, quite frankly, for me, the agenda is to displace us from our own land so it will house them. Because otherwise, why would you have things, which we'll probably get onto later, for example, in Ghana, I think current statistics are 50% of the construction contracts are awarded to the Chinese. And now, okay, so they're building some of our infrastructure, like our rails and things, and our railways. And you will have, in these areas, they're writing, which is in Chinese. And I just have to ask myself, but why? It's like, who are you building the railway for? So for me, they're preparing the land for themselves, and to displace us in some shape or form. That's why I relate to what Sister Sheila was saying about the way that we are treated on our own homeland. It's not just in China, where we had that outroar and that outrage where, with Corona, we saw how our African brothers and sisters were being treated in China. We are being treated like that on the continent. I've seen horrendous videos, like literally videos I could not watch, of how we are treated in our own home. So this to me is not a surprise. And if nothing else, it's like upping the ante, like, come on people, when are we going to do something to really address this? So I think I'll leave it there for now.
Rise up, Sister Nah. Thank you so much for your opening remarks there as well. And definitely, you've given us a lot to think about on those 3 key points. Let me go over to Dr. Abu. Please introduce yourself, Dr. Abu, and let's have some opening remarks from you too on this topic.
Well, give thanks to the Empress, them, you know, and give thanks to you also. You understand, you know? I'm Abu Ratata, a member of the Galaxy team, also a community activist, also a carer, and it's wide. We just, you know, but we just go on to look on the whole situation. There's no government in Africa. What we have in Africa is franchise. Franchise of the West, franchise of China. You understand? And we have to start to look on those things, you know, and realize that all the political principles them in Africa is based on the European thing. That's why them diss the woman blood. I'm telling you, you look at the state of the leaders, them and look how them belly big and puff up like for them pregnant because they're sick. You understand? These are sick people running certain things. And now all day in the Gambia, they're talking about Ramadan Mubarak and all of these things. These are hypocrites. These are hypocrites. You understand? You know? To know the situation of their people. You understand? Because right now, if many of the leaders them fell sick, they can fly out of either out of Ghana or out of Gambia or wherever they are. The people can't. And this is the wickedness. This is the wickedness. I'm a child of the kidnapped people here. And I'm telling you, sometimes it hurt me so much to see what happening to our people in Africa. Consider that we are planning to even leave here to come there. So it's like jumping out a frying pan in a fire blood because what we have in Africa right now and call leaders, they are slave catchers blood. And the truth may I tell you, because a lot of our people that even return there is facing persecution. Imagine, we run away from the plantation to come back home. And these slave catchers will send us back. You understand? So I feel it for the woman then because I know, you understand, that right through the whole colonial and the Arabian invasion, you know, see, Africa have lost a lot because it's the micro, you know, and the macro. You know, the woman is a representation on this planet for the earth, you know. She's the only one that you can put a seed in and something grow. You understand? And we have these sick men, because they're sick. These African leaders, they are sick. You understand? They all follow this Abrahamic. You understand? You know? Remember Abraham taking in child to abuse it, you know. And that's why we have all these child abuse now, this thing, and we not so we are do. Because we are following other people's narrative. You know, Steve, you know? The whole thing about it, until the people them rise up. The people them have to rise up, blood. You understand? Because the leader them will never do anything for them. Most of the so-called African leaders, them have a house in Paris and in Miami and in Park Lane and all of these things. You know, see, you know, they are agent hire. And I don't care. I don't care who want to vex and who want to feel. You understand? Because many of the freedom fighters them in Africa today, if they were a coward, they wouldn't be in jail. It's because they stand up. That's why they lock them away in jail. You understand? Mm-hmm. You know, we have a wonderful president. They take him out. You understand? Anyhow, you have a liberating mind for your people in Africa. You have a short shelf life. You understand? And all of these, from Gambia to Ghana to Nigeria to all of those places, they are there to sell out their people blood. You understand? And I don't afraid of none of them because, as I said, I'm on the passing through. I'm on the passing through higher. And I don't afraid of nothing. I'm here in London and I don't even afraid of this Wazunguya. You understand? So I'm telling the reason why Africa doesn't even put a program to bring us over is because they know that we won't put up with those bullshit. You understand? You understand me? And it's full time we stand up. As I am not going to Africa to friend up no minister. I'm going to Africa. You understand? Because I have a right. You know, see, you know, I not beg no one and I not complain to no one. It's a demand. And if we are returning and there's no justice to the people and the land, then I'm telling you, you know, we should demonstrate from all of these embassy here. All of them. We should have mass demonstration on them. You understand? And the people in Africa should put some tie around these leaders and light them. You know, see, you know, they should take out some of Winnie Mandela and burn them out because they are wicked. Wicked set of people. And they can wrap around these religious things because these are the things that is holding Africa down, you know. You understand? These, you know, these people who will go to church on Sunday, go to the mosque on Friday, and at the same time, they know better than the colonizer. You understand? So I give thanks for the woman, because as I said, you know, if it wasn't for our African woman, a lot of batty man that out there blood. You understand? You know, see, and we must be honest with ourselves. You understand? You know, some of these African leaders, they're glad to put LGBT into place, but they don't put the basic human rights of their own people into place. And that's a bunch of hypocrite blood. Voodoo.
Voodoo, Dr. Abu, keeping it real as always. You know, I was looking at a survey earlier that was done a few years back now, 10 years ago actually, and it was asking, it was a survey that was done across a number of African countries, 36 African countries, and they were asking the people, you know, to tell them generally if they favor the Chinese or the United States in terms of economic assistance, in terms of, you know, the contribution models, the development models that they had for their own countries. And those who were doing the survey, probably the Americans and the Westerners, said that they were really surprised to find that in the surveys that they did, Africans were actually ranking the United States and China as #1 and #2 respectively. And also it suggested that the public, however, did generally view China's activities more favorably in terms of economic development. And, you know, for those of us here, you know, in the diaspora, it's like choosing between the devil and Satan, really. And, you know, our people not recognizing that there is an alternative. And so, you know, always have to bring up President Magufuli when we get the chance. You know, what President Magufuli actually demonstrated is there is an alternative economic strategy. There is an alternative way for Africa to be developing its infrastructure. It doesn't have to choose between devil and Satan. It doesn't have to, you know, go to either China or to the USA or any other European country to develop its infrastructure, to find the money that it needs. You know, any loan that Africa gets from the USA, the IMF, the World Bank, it's a debt trap. And China has come with the same economic strategy for Africa. They offer huge sums of money, huge loans to the African countries. And with that money, they offer them the opportunity to come in and build their infrastructure. So it's like they're paying them to pay the money back to China. I mean, it's just ludicrous. And then the terms and the conditions of the loans is usually such that the African country is going to incur huge amounts of interest and may not be able to repay that interest. So defaults on the loan, and then written into the contract, from what we've been learning, is then, you know, the option for China to then take over an airport or take over a port or take over some invaluable asset. This is a debt trap. We are being given, as Africans, bits of colorful paper that they call money in return for the development of a piece of infrastructure. It's like you've got your house and you take a loan from Mr. Chinaman or Mr. USA man for them to come in and refurbish your house. Yeah. So you've taken bits of paper for them to come in and refurbish your house. You pay them the bits of paper that they've given you, but you're expected to pay them even so much more on top that you can't find the colorful bits of paper because your economy is so depressed, because the money's so scarce in your house. You can't find the extra pieces of paper to give Mr. Chinaman or Mr. European man. So Mr. Chinaman or Mr. European man says, well, okay, I'll have your house then. That's how they get real wealth and real assets, because your house is a real asset. So in return for bits of paper that they've given you, they're actually claiming a real house. How is this different from our generation complaining about our ancestors selling out Africa for trinkets and mirrors and whatever else it's claimed that they were selling back in the days? Tomorrow's generation are going to be saying, how could you be selling Africa for bits of colorful paper and allowing them to come in, you know, and exchange their colorful bits of paper for gold and diamonds and real wealth? So President Magufuli, he was a genius as a mathematician and a scientist. He saw all of the huge gaping holes in their economic system and took Tanzania outside of their matrix. He devised a totally different economic strategy and economic approach for raising the funds that his country actually needed in order to finance its infrastructure. Yeah, they made sure that the corporations were paying their taxes. They made sure that if they weren't paying the taxes, they would hold their goods in the ports until they actually paid up, renegotiated some of those really awful contracts, and was able to generate the income inside his country without having to go to the IMF for loans. Why are other African countries not using that as a strategy? You know, but instead we've got Kenya, for example, that's teaching Mandarin, you know, in the schools and in not teaching any other African language. What's going to happen in 50 years' time? The people are going to be, you know, speaking Mandarin. Like we've got the Francophone countries, we've got the English-speaking countries, and many of the Africans, or us as Africans, more English than the English or more French than the French. Are we going to be more Chinese than the Chinese? Are we all going to be having, you know, Chinese partners? And is suddenly China going to become, you know, Africa going to become new China? Let's go back over to Sister Sheila for her to share some more insights into what's happening on the ground in Kenya, for example, in relation to the Chinese-Kenya development. Come in, please, Sister Sheila.
Thank you very much. What is happening in Kenya is a modern-day colonialism. I would say it is a modern-day colonialism of the worst kind. And why I would say it's of the worst kind is because now we've got social media, so this is documented. It is not something that you have to hear your grandmother telling your grandfather and then you hear it down the line. It is documented, you can see it. We see these horrific videos on social media whereby Chinese companies, because one thing that they're doing in Kenya, they're opening these big industrial companies, selling things that Kenyans could easily have done. Like one of the things they're selling now during these COVID times is selling PPE. You know, the masks and the sanitizers and things that Kenyans have the capacity to produce if we need them, that is. So they are providing these PPEs, they're building them. And then they open things like restaurants and they bring in fish. In Kenya, we've got Chinese fish coming in from China, a country that has got Lake Victoria, the source of River Nile. We've got so many lakes as well. They are also importing other foodstuffs in Kenya. Kenya is an agricultural country. Why are we getting all these imported foods from China? And then you hear that some of them are plastic. They brought in this maize. My mother is a maize farmer. So, which is a colonial plant by itself. They have now brought in another version of maize, the Chinese maize, that is different from the one the British brought. And this one requires more chemicals, damages soil more, has got more aflatoxins, so it's killing us more. They found us with our maize that was there. Now they're bringing in another one as well. And then they're bringing in this rice that is also plastic. They're bringing in, there's so many things that are coming from China, all of them of dodgy quality, but they're selling these things to us. We are paying for these things. We already had them. Now, these foods are mainly sold in the cities because that's where many people buy food. In the villages, people have their own farms. They grow their own foods. They eat organically. Now, we've got these people. They're like a cancer, like a parasite that's spreading so quickly. So they're now going in the villages, taking over the land, taking these dodgy foods of theirs, and we are eating these foods. Now in the villages, they're now taking over the lands as well. Now, meaning that the problem now is the nutricide, because I believe this eating foods that are not meant for our bodies is compromising our health, it's killing us in the long run. So it becomes nutricide. So now it's not only happening in the cities, it's people in the cities that used to be sick because of the diet and just the pollution. Now this pollution and everything is taken to the villages. Now the Chinese are also very, very, very big on building the railway, which is something that we have to start questioning. Because this railway, what it does to the ecosystem, what it does is it cuts through the landscape. What it's doing, it's bringing in pollution in itself. It is damaging the land, it's damaging the fauna and the flora. Do we really need this railway? We need to start asking these questions. And then not only is it damaging the land, the flora, Kenya is a safari country, meaning we've got the big five, we've got the animals, it is scattering them. Not only is it doing this, it is also bringing these people to places that I don't think they should ever have come in the first place. Sister Nara said that some of the resources that they bring is the land, some of the resources that they need is the land. And yes, it is the land because they do not have the land and they're many. But actually, if you go on Wikipedia, there is a document that tells you Chinese plan, 5-year plan. And in it, it says, the thing is that these things are nowadays with social media, it's out there, you can read this thing. So there is a 5-year plan that it is there in Wikipedia and it tells you what exactly China is planning. It's called 5-year plans of China, Wikipedia. If you Google it, 5 years plan of China on Wikipedia, it outlines for you, I'm opening the document so that I can tell you what it does in it. It outlines for you what they have been doing. So it's been having 5-year plans from 1953. The first plan was 1953 to 1957. And the 13th plan was 2016 to 2020. And now we are on the 14th plan, which is 2021 to 2025. These are documents on Wikipedia. Click on them and you will see what they're planning for Africa. So basically what they're doing, they want to make Africa as the second center outside China that is the industry for China. So Africa is going to be part of China. This is their agenda. They actually call the 5-year plans of China. It is their agenda. It is out there. It is written. It's on Wikipedia. So for those that say, oh, Wikipedia is not a good source, use that 5-year plan and go to the sources that you trust. You will see it there. More so, don't even go to Wikipedia and everything. Just go to Africa. And you will see it in real time. You will see them building the things they have said in Wikipedia. They are building the railways. When they build the railways, that allows them to go into the interior places that were not open to them. Now they become open. So they end up learning the country more. They end up getting access to the land, not only to the land. The other resource they're getting is the people. We should never forget that the people of Africa are a resource to the rest of the world. We are a resource to the rest of the world. So when they come, they are also getting hold of us. Because what we are and what our land is, you get us like this, you control Africa, you control the rest of the world. And what we have to know is that there is a game that's being played here between China and the West. They are fighting over Africa and the African people. And the African people, we are like sitting ducks. That's why we have these surveys that Sister Shanice you've been talking about, the surveys being asked between the West, between America and China, which one is better? We've been basically asked between this rapist and this rapist, who rapes you better? well, you don't have to be raped in the first place. You shouldn't be put in that situation whereby you're choosing one rapist over another. And the irony of it is that, you know what, you end up having both two rapists. In Africa, certainly in Kenya, we have got both the American presence, the European presence, and now the Chinese presence. All of them, we owe them debt. So at the heart of all this, I say that the African people, we need to find our anger first and foremost. Because when we find our anger, in that anger, we find our action. Because right now, we're just sitting there, very complacent, very quiet, not doing anything about it. Because first and foremost, when these people come to your land, they are a minority. You are the majority. You are way, way more than them. I saw this disturbing video one day, and it ties in with what Sister Now was saying. Where are the men? I'll tell you where our men are. They've become cowards. They've lost their, I don't want to say the word on camera. I'll just say they've lost their manhood strength. The Chinese companies, most of them employ men. As I say, we are a resource. So the men, the African man, because of his testosterone, he's got the muscle, he's got the back, he's got the strength, he's got the power. So they employ them because the African man has got so much more energy than the Chinese man, for example. Even when you look at them in the size, you will see the African man is a big, strong, strappy man. So they are using the resource, the energy of this African man. So you find a company run by the Chinese has employed like thousands of African men. And there is only one or two Chinese men, bosses. These Chinese bosses are shouting at them, abuse, basically slave master and slave kind of relationship. They are shouting at them. They are beating them. There was once a video that some African men, Kenyan men were late. They were late to the industry coming. And this Chinese man told them to lie down and he whipped them. And this man lay down and got whipped in turn by one man. And I was sitting there and I was saying, I can't even blame the Chinese anymore. Those men of ours that actually lie down and be beaten by another man in your own land, you don't blame the Chinese there. You blame this African man that lies down. And there were many against one Chinese man. I was thinking, when I saw that video, and I say, me, a small woman like I am, I'm small, I'm petite, I will not lie down and be beaten. No, it's not happening. I will use whatever I have got in my own country to do whatever. But you see, this is where we have reached. We've become so weak and so complacent. We just sit there and just take it. We have these people coming to our villages, like the Chinese, the women, the story in Gambia, whereby they came and took this land from gardeners in the women gardeners in Gambia. And the Chinese came and they were taking the land from them. I suppose the Chinese were fewer than the women and the men of that area, because when they're taking the land from these women, it's not women that only live in that village. I go back to Sister Now, where are the men? And if like 2 or 3 Chinese men have come to take the land and the women are there crying, this is the time for not crying. This is the time for action. They are few with few melanin. You are many with you melanin. Strength. You're in the land of the sun. Surely you cannot do anything about it. You're waiting for the government. Sometimes we have to take action in a way that people will be angry or fearful to step and go and do some things. Because this kind of behavior, you will not do it in China. You will not go in China as an African, go to a village in China and take land off from the Chinese people. It will not happen. And they will not wait. The Chinese residents themselves will not be waiting for their police to come and deal with you. Those residents, those Chinese residents themselves will deal with you. So you find when we go to a country whereby they have boundaries, where they have value, where they value themselves, and therefore because they value themselves, they put their own boundaries of which they honor. You go there as a visitor, you have to honor their boundaries. You cannot go there and try some nonsense. But because we Africans have lost our value, we don't have value for ourselves at all. We can be harassed in our own homes. One person can come in a home. When I say one person, is one Chinese company can come in a village with thousands of people, and they will harass the people, and the people will sit there and just cry. At this point in time, the problem is not the government. The problem is not the Chinese people. The problem is the people that are sitting there and letting these people come and take over their land without them reacting in a way that will force these land grabbers, the Chinese, and the land grabber apologists, the government, to do something about it. So it reaches a time whereby you don't have to sit and try to follow the way the Western model of system is. You know, the Western model of the system is the one that says, oh, you know, the protocol is like this. If they come, report to the chief, and the chief reports to this one, and see what the constitution says. Then, you know, evidence has to be brought, and the evidence this and that, and you know, which constitution do they have the paperwork? Nonsense. These are un-African things. In the African way, the way we did something, land belonged to the community. You knew this land belonged to the community. So if an imposter came trying to get the land, the community dealt with the person there and then on the spot. Nothing was postponed. And the matter was resolved. No lawyers were called, no advocates were called, no chiefs or paperwork was called, nothing. Because that land belonged to the community. That land had owners. There is no empty land in Kenya that doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to the community or it belongs to the wildlife. So therefore, if anyone came and didn't have any paperwork, this paperwork, this land ownership and the title deed and measuring, these are all colonial things that came with the West when they came to colonize us. We have no reason to hold onto that system, none at all. So when people come to us with this paperwork and say, oh, we were given this and we were given that, we should not respect that. We should not even give them audience. We should say this land, as far as we're concerned, belongs to this community, and the community has not given you the permission to come here. Who gave you? And if they say, oh, if you know, we were told by the government, by the chief, who are they? This is the community here. Because at the end of the day, when they take our land in the villages, it is not the government that's suffering. It isn't. It is that child of the village. It is that woman of the village. It is that man of the village. And we've been taught over and over again that we've been taught in real time that our government doesn't really care. It doesn't care. So why are we running to the same government wanting for care? It is not happening. So in this case, I just say that, you know what, the people in the village need to find their value. And the people in the city as well, we need to find our value. And our value is not tied to the political system in place. Neither is it tied to the leaders. Our value is our own value that we know we carry it within us. Every African person, you know, you carry that creative spirit within you, that God gene within you. That is your value. And because you have that value, you don't need anyone to validate you. Therefore, no one should come and impose themselves on you, and then you're taking it to someone else. Well, you yourself can act. Once we find our value, the day we will find our value is the day all these foreigners and all these things they brought to us will go. But right now, we don't know our value. Or people like us that know our value, when you want to go to talk, it is our own people who are being victimized that are chasing us away. You know, they're the ones that are rushing us and chasing us away because we found our value, they haven't. So maybe the work we need to do as Africans, and certainly for me as a Kenyan, is to teach our people our values, to teach them their value, you know, that value that you are born with as an African. Because that value is the one that has been systemically been put down, being told that being an African, you need debt, you need help, you need money. These are just colonial things that we do not need them. Africa has got all the resources it needs, including human resource. We do not need these people. We do not need their debts. We do not need their railways. We do not need their whatever they're doing. We actually do not need them. If we actually needed them, then why are they coming back to us? Because they're coming to us because if they're saying we're so poor, we really don't have anything to attract them, isn't it? You're not attracted to a poor person, isn't it? So they are coming purely because we have something in there. But they've told us that we have no value. We need to find that value, and that value is a work that we do on ourselves, and that value, we only do it when we hand back all these colonial things that were given to us. So this is just not about saying Chinese gold. This is about us finding our value, and finding our value, all these colonial things. As our brother was saying, these things are colonial things. The government is a colonial thing. The political system is a colonial thing. The education, the religion, the whatever system that their sister now was talking about, the antagonism between the African man and the African woman, that is a colonial thing. We handle all these colonial things. We will not stand there and wait for colonialists to come in 2021. The colonialists are coming now in 2021. These Chinese, they're colonialists. They're coming in 2021 because we're still operating with that colonialist mind frame. We are ripe. The colonialists, the Western one, went, and we still left that foundation. So these Chinese have just come and fitted in. We need to find our value. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so, so much, Sister Sheila. for all of what you've said there. And thank you also to those of you who are commenting in the chat. So many comments. And, you know, our sister, you was talking about the fact that there are these videos that have been circulating showing, you know, large numbers of Africans looking on while one or two little Chinaman like set upon an African brother, beats him. He gave the example of someone being told to lie down while they get whipped on their butt for turning up late from work. I mean, it sounds like a return to the plantation. It sounds like we're slowly walking back into the days of our enslavement on the continent there, you know. And yes, we do see some of the these videos that are circulating, but I suppose we just don't realize the extent to which it's actually going on. But Dr. Abu, and let me bring you in here. What go on with some of the man them out there? We make them stand up and make these little Chinese man them beat them like that. What go on? Where are their balls? What's happening? What you know, are we psychologically traumatized for why the man them allowing this to happen? Don't want to make this a gender thing, but we're talking about some of these videos that have been circulating where, I mean, I've even seen it in Arab countries where you'll have 200, 300 Africans all sitting down on the ground, and one or two, you know, Arab men, okay, they might have a gun, but hey, you know, women, them not overpower him and take it, you know, what's going on? This abuse and this mistreatment of us of Africans, as our sister is saying, comes to a point where we've got to blame ourselves. What is wrong? Why are we continuing to tolerate this level of abuse towards us by these foreign nationals that come into our country, into our own land, on our own land, into our own homes, set up factories and businesses on our land, and want to turn around and abuse us? What's that about, in your opinion, please, Dr. Abu?
You're asking where the man is. Most of them is locked up in prison, political prison. You understand, you know? The people them are fighting back in a blood. You know? I would not sit here and say the people them are not fighting back. That is why the West give these governments certain weapon, you understand, how to subdue their people. But it's one thing I want to say. I want to say one thing to the African woman, the African housewife, the African mother. Stop put foreign things in your pot. You understand? Because you are part of the problem. Is you putting in these foreign things in the pot, you know? You understand? Mm-hmm. You know, in Ghana, some of the women them does not want the Ghanaian tomato. They want tomato from France and all of these things. This is colonialism. You understand? And if you start and do not know how to deal with your food, you know, what I'm trying to make people understand, right? Africa, just like we in the diaspora here, yeah? We always talk about the white man benefit from the slave, this. A lot of these people that is in power, their ancestors were the sellers' blood. Most of these people that is said that they're African leaders, their foreparents were the one that sell us into slavery. You understand? You know, it's there right in front of us. You know, it's there right in front of us, but we can't see it. Looking at a country like Ghana. Ghana is an African country, and 70% of the Ghanaian people are Christian. You understand? So when you sit down and complain about the Chinese and all of these things, you know, see, you're going to Nigeria, and must be around 80% are Muslim. So where the Africanness of you? You know, it's invasion. You know, I have to be real, blood. We have to be real. You understand? The only way that Africa gonna get black to itself is when we let go foreign things. You understand? We complain about the Chinese, And we complain about the Indian and the white man, but when you look on the African them woman them head, what them have on it? So we are complaining about the Indian them did it and did it because you attract them, you draw them in because of your brainwash and the things them that you put on yourself and the thing. Most of the African leaders them don't dress in African clothes. Then go to Paris and all of these things. Neo-colonialism blood. You understand? You know? And we the children of the kidnapped people, feel it so much. You understand? You know? Because if we don't be careful, we are jumping out of fire. We are jumping out of frying pan right in a fire. I've seen the behavior blood. You understand? And we cannot pretend. We cannot here pretend and say it's not like that. You know, the man is running the things and him running it in such a way that you have brothers and sisters locked up in prison because they're talking about their basic human rights. Simple as that, blood. You understand? But as I said, the Chinese won't be in Africa forever. Neither is the white man. You understand? You know? Because nature will take back its place, you know? But you African people, you have to get back, you have to be one with nature because you're not one with nature. You're one with Rome, you're one with Mecca, you're one with even China now, but you're not one with yourself. You understand? And this is why you are getting the beating because you are not. Them said, consciousness is awareness. What you pay attention to is what you become conscious of. A lot of us African people is not even conscious of ourselves. We're conscious of others. That is why we're going through these things. So as I said, we all have a responsibility. Responsibility is not the duty of few, but the duty of many. Simple as that. Vodum.
Vodum, rise up, Dr. Abu. And, you know, just also to say that we're not suggesting, you know, that we exchange one colonial master for another. The focus may be the Chinese today, but what we're absolutely, you know, looking at and seeing right now are the early signs that we could be sleepwalking into enslavement again. And what's very concerning that's been highlighted is that there doesn't seem to be any organized response to the abuse, you know, that's clearly happening on the continent. And so who is supposed to save us as a people? Well, you know, here in the UK, for example, can you imagine if a Chinese man or an Englishman decided that they was going to try and beat up on a man or a woman in the workplace? Now, we know that happens in the police do that. You know, what they've done is they very cleverly put all of their, you know, Ku Klux Klan or National Front people into the police force here in the UK. And they are the ones who are doing the abusing against us as a people. And, you know, I'm sure people have seen the response to some of that abuse. You know, the protests, the riots, you know, the petitions, the campaigning. But, you know, do our people on the continent need to become more assertive, Sister Sheila, and to be campaigning about abuse, taking action, maybe even direct action in response to these sort of beatings? This was happening here in the UKKK in the 70s. You know, we had white men running down our brothers and our sisters, wanting to give them a beating. And when they started getting back a beating, the police had to step in, the government had to step in to come with legislation to protect their people. Is it that the people on the continent maybe need to start giving some of these people who are beating them back a beating? I mean, what is the solution to this problem? Sister Sheila, over to you, please.
I will start by talking about a certain legislation that was changed a few years ago when Cameron came into power here in the UK. There used to be a law that if someone broke into your house here in the UK, if someone broke into your house and you harmed them, they would sue you for harming them. So if someone broke into your house and came to steal something or whatever, then you beat the person up. That person could actually report you and sue you for beating him when he was in your house. That was a law here in the UK. In the same law, they say that if he came to steal in your house and he slipped and fell or he did something to him, he hurt himself, he could claim on your house insurance. It's madness, but it was a law here in the UK. And the Cameron came into power. And when it came into power, that was one of the laws they changed. And the reason why they changed that law is because people were now breaking into their homes. And I suppose it was our African brothers that were now breaking into their homes, knowing very well that there's nothing that can be done to them. When they go there, they can sue. Because the way they changed the law so quickly, I wondered what happened. It seems they must have had incidents whereby they were breaking into their homes and people, that the owners of the home could not do anything. Because if they did anything, they could be sued by the robber. So they changed the law and they said that if anyone crosses the threshold and is inside your house, whatever happens to him in there, there's no case. So if someone breaks into your house and you even kill him dead, no case. Should not have been there in the first place. That is the law now. So I'm coming back to the Kenyan setting. Someone is breaking into your home. Someone is breaking into your home to come and harm you. Your home here is your village, your land, where you eat, your water, where you drink. Your house, your physical home, where you built everything and you're taking care of everything in there. They're coming and they're breaking away. They're coming to take things from you. Do you just stand there and watch them take it? Do you start negotiating and dialoguing with them and saying, please don't take it, I need it? Do you beg them? Do you sit down instead of negotiating and start begging and crying and say, look, my wife is pregnant, my children are sick, you can't take it. This is your land. Do you do that? What is the most sensible thing for you to do? If people knew that, for example, like right now in the UK, you know that if you break into someone's house to go and steal, and that person gets a knife and knifes you to death, that is your story gone. You will think twice before you break into someone's house. These countries that have gun laws, you would think twice before you break into a house knowing they have guns in that home, because you know what, they will use that gun on you. So for the African people, the reason why these outsiders come in and they take so much, there's no respect, they just come and they take, is because they know there's no consequences to their actions. They know they can do it. What people will do, they will sit there, they will cry. And this is one of the places that I blame religion for it. Because when I go back to our history of the African people, history of when the colonial master first came to Africa, these were Romans, they were the ones who came first, or the Greeks or whatever, but that lot, when they came, we fought. The colonial narrative tries to make it look like we collaborated with them in selling our own people. That's a lie. We fought. We fought, we resisted their religion. We resisted the name changings. We resisted their food. We resisted them being in our land. We fought. We fought. That is why you hear that the African, when we are taught in Kenya, I went to school in Kenya, we taught that, we migrated from down the Congo forest, came all the way down, but we never taught exactly why we were migrating. It's not as if we were sitting just one day and we started saying, right, we are going to leave this empire of Mali, the empire of Mali, very developed, we're going to leave Kemet, we're going to leave Kush, we're going to leave this kingdom and just go and start afresh. No, we were leaving our kingdoms because we were being attacked and we were fighting, and some had to run to go be safe, others had to remain to fight, but we fought. The African people fought. We fought. So now this modern day 2021 African person or 2020 African person that is sitting and not fighting is someone that is mentally enslaved, is someone that is brainwashed, is someone that has a software in his head that is a self-destructive one. And that software, that self-destructive one, that self-destructive software, we know where it came from. It was installed there But these colonial people that came and left us their infrastructure, we always have to know what comes from the oppressor is never something that is for you. Completely. They came with this white supremacy system, whereby the white supremacy system, in short, is a system that's designed to keep the black person down. So they left that white supremacy system in our religion. As our brother here has said, we are not one in nature. We are one with Mecca, one with the Vatican. Now we are one with Buddha in China or everything. So they in their religion, in the education system, in the law, in the politics, in the economics. The Chinese people are coming because of economics. In this gender dynamics of putting the black man against the black woman. As Sister Na said, this was not the problem. So this is the software that was put in our heads. And this software is making us not think clearly. This software is not making us see who the enemies are and who the friends are. So right now, there are people in Kenya, including the Kenyan government, who say that the Chinese are good people. You know, they're coming here, they're building our roads, you know, they're building our structures. Look, they're giving us free Chinese in the universities. You know, they're giving us free things. We end up now looking at the good things they're bringing. The same thing, we looked at the good things that colonialism and slavery brought to us. And indeed, in the school that I went in Kenya, we actually had a lesson whereby we were looking at the benefits of colonialism. Yes, that is a subject I sat, and we were taught the benefits of colonialism, and amongst them we were told the colonial master brought civilization. And that is what I knew. Only for me to come and grow and realize and learn about Kemet and Kush and Mali and realize, oh my gosh, we are the ones that brought civilization. But this is something we are not taught in our schools. So right from childhood, from the time we are born and given these colonial names, and given this colonial education system, and given these colonial religions, and eating these colonial foods that are not in sync with our melanin, these colonial foods that are destroying our melanin, the colonial foods that, as you were mentioning at the opening of the course, Sister Shanice, that are making us black on the outside, but having a white mind on the inside. You said a brother is coming to talk about this. A series is going on. This is exactly what is happening to the African person that exists in the world today. This African person that sits there with a wrong software on their head is one that would stand there and be colonized as they watch, because they will feel already hopeless, already beaten, or they will start looking for positives in this modern day colonialism. They will start saying, you know what? Yes, they're taking over our land, but you know, they're giving us jobs, they're giving us money. You're forgetting that before they came to your village, you didn't need to wake up and go and work for anyone. There was no plantation. You woke up in the morning, went sunbathed, finished, went to the farm, took your foods that are there, cooked, ate, sat with your family, finished, slept. Woke up next day, did the same thing. Nature provided. You had no plantation to go to anyone. You did not need money. If you needed different kind of fruits, your neighbor, the way we're doing barter trade, that is how the village life is. If you needed water, you went to the river or you had a well, you dug the water there. You were not paying anyone any water there. So they're now coming to your village. They're putting for you water meters and piped water with all the chemicals it comes with, taking you away from your spring water, which is the river water. Then you're now giving pipes and bringing in the house. They are now giving you, as I said, the solar meter, bringing you electricity, which is now throwing you off, it's throwing off your system. Now you're staying awake at night instead of sleeping. They're now giving you jobs. You're now waking up in the morning, not in charge of your time, going to work for someone who whips and shouts at you, who works you like a horse. The land that you have, you now lease to them. They're now planting some cash crop. So the food that you used to go and get from the ground is not there anymore, because now they've planted something that they're selling. And then you say, oh, at least they're giving us money. At least they're giving us jobs. And you know what? They're also teaching us Mandarin. They're teaching us their language. There's someone that is not right in the head. That is someone, Dr. Arikana, the former AU ambassador, says this: we are mentally sick. But this mental sickness is because of the software that is installed in our heads. That software is a self-destructive software, and it stops us from saying anything that is supposed to empower and liberate us. What we end up saying are just help. We see ourselves so helpless. We are victims and we need to be saved. The question you asked, Sister Shani, is who is supposed to save us? We are the only people that are supposed to save ourselves. There is no one that's coming to save us. No one. It is us. There is no West that is coming to save us. There is no East that's coming to save us. There is no North, South, wherever. We are the only people that are supposed to save ourselves. And we have a position. We have power. First of all, we have got the melanin. The melanin gives us so much power. That is the first thing. Second, we've got the land on the planet, on the whole earth. That gives us power. We are also the one with the youngest generation. Whenever you have a young generation, that means you can create a different imaginary. That means you can create another future. There's a document. One thing I will say is that there's a document that came out last month in the UK, saying about the declining sperm rates in the UK, that fertility is declining, fertility is waning. And if we continue on this path, in 25 years, in 2045, there will be no sperms for the men to impregnate their women. And then this is not necessarily an African problem. It will only become an African problem when we start eating foods that are not for our bodies. As it is happening, when we let these people come in our land and give us these foods that are not for the body, we're supposed to eat food from the land. That is what we're supposed to eat. And if we eat food from the land, we'll find that nature is doing its work. As Dr. Abu, our brother, said here, nature will do its work. They themselves, their own paperwork is saying, come 2025, things are going to different. China itself had the one-child policy, now it's at the two-child policy. They themselves, they're already doing their own depopulation. So we Africans, we are the people that have the youngest population right now. We are the people that our bodies, if we live according to nature, the melanin does everything for us. We don't even have to do anything. The melanin does it. So
Absolutely.
Our problem is simply we have the wrong software. We need to uninstall it. Yes. And thank you.
Decolonize the mind. I hope everyone was hearing you clearly. You were cracking up a little bit for me, but I know I have internet problems, but I hope that everyone was able to hear you absolutely clearly, my sis. Totally agree with you. We need to reset the mindset. Absolutely. And the show after this one, we've got Franklin Jones coming on, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be, he's going to be bringing to us the science behind the mindset that we've got. I mean, it's just painful to watch some of those videos, to see our big grown men being beaten by these little Chinese men then. I mean, we have to stand up for ourselves. This is what we had to do in the UKKK. We had to stand up and we had to fight, to stop the abuse. Otherwise, what our history shows us, this abuse will get from bad to worse. And it will get from bad to worse. Don't think they haven't got their Chinese armies stationed all over Africa for no reason at all. They probably foresee the day, when we have to start lick them and run them out the country. And by then, they would have had too big a stake and too big of an investment in the country to want to run and leave it. So we need to fix up these people then and make them know them place when them coming up in the yard. Nobody's supposed to come in your house and treat you anyhow. You think you can come to England and just start box up some white man in the workplace? You must be mad. So why them think them can come to Fury Yard, our motherland, and do that? I not saw it for God. Sister Yard, I it for God. What you have to say about this, my sis? This thing I get me vexed now. Come in,
Thank
sister.
you, Sister Denise. Yeah, wow. There's so much shared there. There's a lot. I'm just trying to track back to what the family is saying. And I'm very much about self-responsibility and not blame. If it was us who were doing what the Chinese that were doing, which they're doing for the good of their own people, we'd be like, yeah, big up to us. Kudos, we're giving our own people jobs, we're building our own, we're creating generational wealth. But because it's being done to us, not so good. It's not a good look. So we ask ourselves, why is it that we're still in this position? And we have, some of us on one side, it's like, yes, it's the colonialists. Some of us on the other side, no, it's us, we're evil. When in fact, it's probably a bit of a mix of both. But I draw back to what we've touched upon in this conversation about the roles of our men and our women. Like I called out, where are the men in that situation? And what Dr. Abu was talking about, and I think it's your daughter in the family, about the need for the mothers to rise. There is no way, and I rarely speak this categorically, right? But there is no way on this planet that we can expect the motherland, Africa, to thrive if her physical mothers on the ground, the women, are suffering. So if we say that, really, when we look at this, yes, us as an African people, we're suffering, we're struggling. But when you look at it with like hypervision, what do we have? We have, and I know we're talking about Caucasian, so let's say an offshoot of them, but we have the biggest war, which is the oppression by the Caucasian male of the African woman, because she gives birth to everybody. But yes, we have our African community, our men and our women. But there's no way we are going to get anywhere if we do not do the utmost to ensure that the women are not crazy. And Sister Sheila, I think, was being diplomatic, but now I'm in a position where I can say we're crazy in the sense that some of the things that we do, they're all understandable. There's we live by the law of cause and effect. We will do what we have to do to survive. It is the reason why during slavery, our mothers, I would say, kind of maybe mollycoddled, or at least the way that they would protect their boy children is to not allow them to appear so buck and strong, for fear that the slave master was going to take them and either buck break them, get them to do the hardest work, So it was to almost diminish the strength of our boy children to protect them. Meanwhile, the girl children taking on, the slack. So they had to do that to survive. We get that, but then we give birth to those traumas. We give birth to that conditioning, which is partly why we have some of this big separation in, boy children not really having to do anything, and the girl children have to do a lot. So why am I talking about this? Because with everything else, and we have been indoctrinated to take the language is the most pervasive. I had a conversation with a friend today, and she was talking about, how we talk about corruption, and a friend happens to be Kenyan, and she said she took a survey, kind of talking to her people about what does the word corruption mean in their local language, or is there a word for corruption in their local language? And it's not, because it's not something that's of us. That's like not our business. We understand if somebody steals or if somebody is a thief, that one we get. The corruption we don't get. So we've imported or been taught these things, including the language, that actually are none of our business. So that adds to the I won't say brainwashing, but I'll say it adds to brain dirtying, if you like. Like it just riddles our mind with nonsense. But we say a lot that, okay, we want to empower the youth. Empower is another one, but I'll come back to that. We want to empower our youth, because they are the future, the future generations, that, they are the ones that got to take this up and everything. Number one, we've already tied the hands of our future generations, in a sense, because every woman that is carrying a child right now or had a child, we've already downloaded our experience into them. So they've already taken this up. That's why you can have memories, or these what feels like, and some are these kind of past life memories, or you pick up things, they come from your DNA. You didn't have to be there, they're encoded in us. So a generation, 2 generations now already, they will pick up the conditioning that we are in now. So no, we can't wait for the future generation to do better, because we've already encoded them. So we have to make the change now, to give them the better chance to, okay, yes, have maybe a better mindset. Number one. Number two, we can't rely on our future generation. If how well can you expect a child to thrive if the child's first teacher, not the only teacher, the child's first teacher, the mother, the woman, is crazy, is suffering, is struggling in some shape or form to bring, to support the family, to play her role. It's not going to happen. But I think what has happened is that we, again, when I talk about language, we kind of adopted this Western, or let's just say non-African idea of women's empowerment, which sounds very independent woman. I don't need a man to do anything. And it's like, no, that is not what we're talking about. You need your women, the stalwart of the family, the community builders, to have the basics. Like, they need secure accommodation and not being afraid that they're going to be defiled, abused, or something in some way. They need to know that they, their partners, their children, have food, have clothes, have water, have education. Basics. Because without these basics, I defy anybody to tell me that they are the people that you can get their attention to change their mindset. How do you change someone's mindset when they're crying of hunger? Like, for me, that's okay, I won't say it's impossible, but I would say it's very difficult. So it's like we need to tackle the basics. And I don't see in a grand scale, on a grand scale, anybody else who is really putting in the work and the resources as a collective to say, do you know what? Let us help uplift our women. Because guess what? When the woman in the home is doing well, the whole family is doing well. So one woman, you help one woman to thrive. And by thrive, I'm not saying she has to be a millionaire, but she needs to be of sound mind, her family, she is not worried about her safety. The rest of the family, she pays that forward. We have a ripple effect, And so the last thing I call out is why that's important, because we have, through the chat and family have mentioned, we're talking about our beloved late great Magufuli. Why is it that we do not realize that these, our wonderful, beloved, late great leaders, our Magufulis, our Malcolm X, our Martin Luther Kings, our Nkrumahs, all of them, what did they have in common? They were men. Now, I say that not to say that they did something wrong. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that in this system, we have proof, not once, not twice, but we have data. When our men dare to stand up for us as a nation, they get taken out. So it's actually time for the men and the women to help our mothers be in a good positions so our mothers can stand up and look after the children. It doesn't mean we're the ones that have to go out and fight, but if we are the ones that are at the helm, we are much less likely to be taken out. I'm not saying women haven't been killed. I know, I forget the name of the sister who was one of, if you like, the inner circle for Kwame Nkrumah. She was poisoned. But it's much less likely that you hear that the women leaders are taken out like our men are systematically taken out. If we want our motherland Africa to have a fighting chance, help the mothers. Because you help the mothers and the mothers will take care of everything. Not single-handedly, but because the way we look at things, it's different. And if you don't believe me, just go and read the articles or view the stats that they have told us about the countries that have fared better handling this coronavirus pandemic. It's the ones that are led by the women. Why? Because it is innate in us. It is within us. Our priority is to preserve the life of our children, humanity. So once we're okay, we will do everything in our power to make sure that our families are okay. And despite the strength of a man and the strength of a woman, I challenge you, there is no fiercer protector of a child than a child's mother when she is sound. So you really want to unleash that fighting spirit, the warrior spirit, put the energy, the men and women together to uplift the women, uplift the mothers, because it's time to balance that energy, for the maternal energy to come back and look after the citizens. So I don't necessarily, we're talking about this Chinese influence, but to me, they're all one and the same. It's Africa against the world, because the world depends on Africa. So if Africa has the balls, it will say, yes, you know what? We will invest in our physical mothers on the ground to shield, to protect, to look after the country, and then everybody benefits. Thank you, Sister Shanice.
Thank you too, Sister Yar. Thank you. The role of the woman, absolutely critical, absolutely important, and the role of the man, you know, by the side of the woman, you know, it's the balance that is so critical. And you know, we are the ones who are bringing the children into the world. So yes, you know, and we're the ones that nurture the boys as well. So there's a huge job and a huge responsibility, I suppose, for us as women to make sure that we are nurturing and grooming our sons, you know, to be warriors, to be lions, to be conquerors, to be leaders who have the interests of the people at heart. And as we do all of that, it's really important that we have our man by our side as well, that's showing the young boy how to be a man, what it means to be a man. So, you know, those of us who are in the West, we know that the Europeans actually put a huge amount of work and effort into destroying the family, because they understand the power of a strong African family. So that's what's going on in the West. And we see all the authorities and the institutions coming up with 101 policies and excuses to go into the family home to destroy the family. But what we do have on the continent, however, are strong family units. But the brainwashing, I think, you know, is so, the indoctrination is so entrenched that there is almost, you know, a level of worship that exists of Chinese people, of European people, of other people who don't look like them, of Arabs, you know, of their culture, of their language, of their religions. You know, we have been made to feel actually that anything African is just not good enough. I had something that I was looking at earlier. I wonder if I can find it. What I do, I'll find it as I bring back Dr. Abu to respond to, you know, some of the points that have been made. Dr. Abu, we were talking, well, you heard all of what has been said and you've seen some of the comments. Let me allow you to make a decision as to what you'd like to come back and respond to. Dr. Abu.
Budum family. First of all, you have to realize what happened to a nation of people when they have been conquered. Yeah? They kill the man and take out the woman, and sometimes they brainwash them into their way. I see some people, you see me, right now I'm looking after my wife. She's sick. She have 2 strokes. I'm in her left her. So when me hear people talk about putting down the woman, they don't have a crap of what they're saying, blood. You see me? I'm not into no pum-pum government nor panty whipping. You understand? I am an African man. You understand? And I know the whole thing. You understand? And I know what to teach my son to show respect for women. But a conquered people, blood. You have to understand what is a conquered people. You understand? So if we can work together, you know, I've been working with our sister from the day I met. As a matter of fact, I 8 sister me have, a 2 years boy. So nobody can come tell me about woman and all of them things. You understand? You know, I never see a woman place in the kitchen because I can go in there. I never see her around the washing thing because I can wash, iron, and do all of those things. You understand? So what I'm saying, if I come and I point out something to you, you understand? Don't take it as if I'm letting off the man them. Ask anybody at all. I know that most of the African man them have been spiritually castrated. You understand? You know, if you have some sheep in the field. You have mostly female in the field, and they may keep 2 ram, and the rest of them, they castrate them. Most of the men them in the mass are spiritually castrated. Most of the men them in the church are spiritually castrated. They have no balls. As a matter of fact, they will, what they are doing in Africa, they are the one that is pimping out the woman, you know. Majority of them is the pimp. So who you calling leaders and ministers and all of those there, they are just pimps. And they pimp out the people. You understand? But I can tell you, I involved in a station here for over 30 years. And if I never have a good woman with me, I couldn't be a part of that, because a lot of the women them in this country, if you not make money, they're not in you. And when me and my woman come together, it wasn't because of money. It was because of the liberation mind that we both have. You understand? So as I said, people can say, but I don't deal with well said. I deal with well done. You understand? And it speaks for itself. And whenever I see my African man lapsing, you understand? I'm here in the UK, but I make sure that I invest in the children them in Africa, because they are the future. Some of us just talk it, blood. You understand, you know? But we don't fully understand it. You understand? We are in a war situation. That's what, we are at war. And I remember Winston Churchill said, in a time of war, truth is so precious, you have to bodyguard it with a barrage of lies. You understand? So I have to be careful of the propaganda, because the BBC spend over 600 million a year in Africa to brainwash a lot of the African people. You understand? So it's a lot of things that they are doing. You understand? And a lot of us, we sit here and we don't really understand certain things. And every time we stand up to talk about certain issue, then people think that we are blaming this. But I never blame no one, blood, because I know who is the cause. How can you blame the effect of a cause? Eh? You can't blame the side effect. You have to go right to the cause. And I said that colonialism. You see, a lot of us are talking about COVID-19, but we're not seeing the colonial virus, blood. We're not seeing the colonial virus. And that is why in these leaders in Gambia and Ghana and Nigeria carry out this behavior, because they know that the people are under the colonial virus. You understand? But as I said, nature will take its course. Nature will take its course, blood. And I am one with nature. Vudum.
Take myself off mute. Rise up, Dr. Abu. Vudum. Vudum back at you, Dr. Abu. Our men have been spiritually castrated. We certainly as a people have been castrated spiritually, indoctrinated with a Eurocentric mindset. A lot of our people are out of their minds. Religion has played a huge part, as we know, in making us the way that we are. But, you know, those of us who are awoke, we've got to wake up the rest of our people. Otherwise, we're going to be sleepwalking back into slavery. That is for sure. And Marcus Messiah Garvey, he said, you know, Africans at home and abroad. And it was his dream, it was his vision for those of us in the Caribbean to return back home, those of us who were displaced and taken out of Africa. His dream was for us to return. And, you know, the fights, we have been fighting for over 500 years. From the day that we were taken out of Mama Africa, we have been fighting. We were fighting as we were leaving the shores. We were fighting on the ships. We were fighting on the plantations. We won our freedom. We've been then invited back to the so-called motherland, which to us we thought was the places like the UKKK. We went there and we had been fighting. We had to fight there. So, you know, we've got a huge amount of fight in us, those of us from the diaspora or the livospora, because we're not dying, we're not dead, we're still alive. So us livosporians have a huge amount of fight in us. And I suppose, you know, many of us need to go back and inject that spirit back into our brothers and sisters. However, it was said in the chat, and it's so, so true, and this is so concerning, that, you know, although, as Dr. Abu said, a lot of our men have been spiritually castrated, and maybe that's why many of them are too handicapped to fight the Chinese and the Europeans and others, we're quick to fight our one another though. Our people then quick to fight them brethren and quick to fight their sisters. And this is what I was actually talking about on my show earlier today. You know, these so-called African militia groups who are wreaking havoc on their own people, slaughtering men, women, and children. But maybe we'll say that's a separate topic for another time. So, you know, there is a major, major problem that we have to discuss and we have to get to the bottom of, you know, because it's totally unacceptable that on the one hand, you know, we are beating and abusing our own people, but then we fail to show the same level of anger when we are being abused by people who don't look like us, don't like us. But make the media say the Nigerians are the foreigners or the Zimbabweans are the foreigners in South Africa. Then suddenly our African brothers and sisters find the balls that they didn't have to fight them one another again. Is a serious problem we're in, you know, and I don't know how we deal with it, but there is a show coming after this one at the top of the hour, and we do have our brother Franklin Jones, who's going to be enlightening us and making us aware of the extent to which we are being socialized as a people, and, you know, how it is that we hate ourselves, dare I say, therefore quick to kill somebody who looks like us, and have been indoctrinated into worshiping whiteness and into worshiping, you know, that which is not as of us. So really important that we learn all of that. To tune in, you just need to come out, go back into the Sister Shanice show and click on the link, the live link for the show with our brother Franklin Jones. So we are on the last few minutes now, so we're going to give just a couple of minutes over to each of our guests. Before I do that, I just want to say that a donation of £20 was made. I want to thank, or $20. I want to thank you so, so much to the person who kindly made that donation. Much appreciated, love. Someone did ask for account details rather than donate via Cash App, because I believe Google take a large chunk of whatever it is that you donate. So there's details at the bottom of how you can support. You can support me on Patreon, or you can support me via PayPal. And I'll go around the group now and ask you, as you close with your few parting words, you know, if you've got an organization that family members can come on board and support and join you as a formidable fighter, let them know where and how they can get in touch with you and how they can support you in whatever way they might want to do so. So over to you for a couple of minutes, please, Sister Sheila. And thank you so much for being such a great guest. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. My closing shots regarding this Chinese situation on African land. Since I'm a life coach, I draw a lot from experiences that are going there. So I'm going to give two brief things, and that will be my closing remark. A few years ago, I was doing insurance. In the UK, there is insurance for cars, car insurance, which frankly is a scam. And I called the insurance, and the quotation they ended up giving me was just way too high. So I got my partner to call the insurance, and he ended up getting a quotation that was considerably lower. Same car, same circumstances, different. And when I was asking, you know, why is it this way? I got told that, you know what, the insurance business is based on lies. So you have to find ways in which you word your thing. You don't just use the word. If you're a doctor, don't say you're a doctor, say you're a medical someone, because doctors pay higher than medical someone. So find ways around it. As in the system that is based on deception, you cannot be truthful. That's the insurance. Second thing, I went for a trip in British Museum. And in British Museum, they have a big hallway whereby they are holding things from the African continent. So I asked them, why are you having this? Why are you having, some of them are holy things. They're things that are very sacred to us. And they say that the reason why they were holding them is because the British government wanted to put them out for the rest of the world to see. If they remained in these African communities, the rest of the world would miss out on this great thing. So they felt that it was their job to hold this thing in this place and expose it to the other people. So they had taken something that didn't belong to them and held onto it and making profit from it and saying, we're doing it for your own good and the good of the world. We have Chinese in Africa. They have come, they have built the infrastructure. They've had buildings, they have built companies and railways and everything with debt. We as Africans need to play people in their game. This thing is in our land. They are in a minority. We need to borrow from the British Museum and say, you know what, this is ours. You came and you built. We want it. Feel free to leave. Go. We also need to know that when we are playing in a system that is based on deception and exploitation, we shouldn't come there all genuine and nice and showing our weaknesses. No. If you are into international development or any company, you know there is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are the things you maximize on them. You maximize your strengths. You maximize what you can get from your weaknesses and opportunities and threats as well. What threats are there? This SWOT is what are missing. Once we know how to handle the SWOT and we know a game of deception is supposed to be played with savviness, and we get that savviness, we will win. Thank you very much, my people. Onwards and upwards we go.
Well, I have to invite you back, Sister Sheila. I know you had so much more to say. Sister Nal, straight over to you for a couple of minutes.
Thank you. No, I'm literally just going to say thank you for having me on the show. Thank you to all the viewers watching live on replay. Big up the Sister Denise show. Keep up the good work, sis. It's amazing to have this platform to learn and to share. A lot of what I shared was about just going back to Mother Nature, the motherland, our mothers, the women. And so I'm a founding member of an organization called Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa. It's a not-for-profit organization registered here in Ghana with a growing presence in Kenya, the UK, Zambia, Nigeria, and Togo. So if you would like to check out what we do, support us. We're building a village in the Greater Accra region, which is like a multi-purpose, maternal-driven, progressive village, partly to enable our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who want to come home. They don't have to come from Ghana, but they want to come home and integrate, not be on a colony for diasporans, but integrate with the natives, get to know the family. So that's partly it, but also to support women and children fleeing from domestic violence, eating what we grow, growing what we eat, you know, taking us back to as far back to Mother Nature as we can. So you can find out details. We are Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa on Facebook. If you want to contribute to the building the village, you can check that out on gogetfunding.com/buildavillage. That's gogetfunding.com/buildavillage. Power to our mothers, the women, the key to our true independence. Sister Shanice, thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, Sister Nal, pleasure having you join us. And we must invite you and have you back again as well. Please quickly post in the chat that link. Rise up, Dr. Abu, our resident panel member. A couple of words from you, my brother, in closing.
I would say voodoo to the empresses, them, you know, wonderful. It's good to be in your company. And I said, wherever we are, you know, whether we are in the motherland or here, we must protect one another. and I'm appealing to the man them to protect the woman, and I'm appealing to the African woman. Don't dump your African man for Jesus. It's a big thing we are going on in the UK right now. A lot of our brothers have been put out of their house for Jesus, and that colonialism blood. We have to look after one another. You see, that's why I don't want to go to the white man heaven, because that P. Chichi boy did it. You understand? Me's an African, and I am not romantic in nothing, because I'm an African. Simple as that. More voodoo all the time.
Voodoo, Dr. Abu. Family, on that note, we are closing. We are all we've got. So we have to look after each other. Every man look after your woman. Every woman look after your man. We are all we've got. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do join us straight after this one, actually, for the show with Brother Franklin Jones. He's going to de-brainwash, decolonize, decolonialize the mind. Voodoo, Dr. Abu, rise up, Sister Nan, Sister Sheila, to everyone in the chat, to all your contributions. More love, more power, more voodoo. See you in the other show. One love, family. One love.